So yeah, anyway, so big welcome to everybody. Big welcome to all of you on the DBC Autumn Retreat 2021. And the theme for the retreat is to take whatever arises as the path. And particularly, we're going to be focusing on the figure of Padmasambhava, Guru Padmasambhava, who I'll say a little bit more about tonight, and we'll hear more about over the course of the weekend. So tonight, what we'll do is we'll have an intro to the retreat. Um, we'll I'll tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing and a little bit about the theme, a little bit about what the meaning of the theme is, and then we'll split up into breakout rooms tonight, just to sort of say hi, to tune in with a few of the other people on the retreat, and then we'll have a break for 10 minutes. And then we're going to have a dedication ceremony, which Pavra is going to lead. Pavra is actually sitting next to me. He's just off camera. He's just there. And then we'll finish with, well, we'll finish at 9:15, but there'll also, each night there'll be, as it were, optional meditation. So if you want to sit on later, you can sit on until 9:45. Obviously, you can sit on for as long as you like, but it's quite nice to have a sense of sitting with other people. So yeah, myself and Pavra will be here until 9:45, and that'll be the same each night. But the sort of official, as it were, finishing time is 9:15. Um, yeah, so we chose this theme to take whatever arises as the path. Um, so it felt like an apt approach to life, to the Dharma, for the times that we're living through and in. Um, I suppose in a way, I was kind of hoping that on this retreat I wouldn't have to say those kinds of things, but it sort of feels like we're still in this thing, this time period of uncertainty and uh, disruption, etc. Yeah, so that's a part of why we chose that title, but also because that's very much the message of Padmasambhava, as hopefully we'll see a little bit tonight and in subsequent evenings and mornings and afternoons. Um, so yeah, so our lives, the lives that we lead, they all take place within a stream of events. Life is this kind of dynamic process, and all the time we're responding to events. All the time. That's kind of what our lives are. Is in the midst of this stream of which we're a part, we're responding to the stream, and often that responding takes the form of making plans. We devise plans about what we're going to do, from something as sort of simple and straightforward as making breakfast. We decide what we're going to have for breakfast, to maybe travel, to what we're going to do for a living, to relationships we might end or begin, um, uh, friendships that we develop, all these things that we respond to, all these events that we respond to. So we're planning in that kind of way a lot of the time. A lot of this I don't think is particularly conscious. Some of it is conscious, but a lot of it is unconscious. Yeah, we make plans to bring about in our lives what we think is important for our lives, what we want, and so on. And what's really interesting, I think, and why this teaching is important, is what we assume is that the way that we think about and the way that we plan what's coming up in the future, we assume that events are going to transpire in that way, in that exact way. Um, it's strange that we do this, but that's what we seem to do. We actually think that it's going to unfold according to the way that we've thought about it, that life is going to unfold, that the stream of events will unfold according to the way that we think about it. And I've been thinking about this for a little while. Yeah, hopefully I've been thinking about it for years, but um, I heard a story the other day. A friend was telling me a story about the year that he discovered that Santa Claus didn't exist, and basically there was bikes in the shed that weren't there behind the big bit of plywood, that weren't there before. And but anyway, in a way that's incidental to the story. But my friend this was in the middle of the 80s. Some of you will remember that time, and certain things were really popular in the 80s, like Rubik's cubes, Pac-Man, uh, things like that. And one of the things that was really popular was BMX bikes. Some of you will remember BMX bikes. So apparently BMX stands for bicycle motocross. So there was kind of like a bike that you could ride off road, and people used to do tricks on them and spin them around and do all kinds of things. And my friend really wanted a BMX. And he'd actually written to Santa informing him what he wanted, as some of us might have done. So he got everything in place in order to get a BMX for Christmas. And when Christmas came, he didn't get a BMX, he got a racer, which I gather, he tells me, was a profound disappointment. So that's a kind of little story, but I think it illustrates something that happens for us in our lives, that we set our sights on something, and we really think that we know what's going to happen, and when it doesn't work out the way that we expected, all kinds of difficult emotions can arise. So it's I think the mistake that we make is that we assume that the way we think about things, the way we think about the stream of events, the way we think about the world is the same as those things, those events in the world in themselves. We don't see that when we're thinking about the world, we're just thinking about it. We think that's actually reality. So I think this is in a way, this is what delusion is. I think that we create this fabricated world of thoughts and so on, and then we actually believe that it's really like that. And when it's demonstrated that it isn't like that, we get upset. So it doesn't mean that we should plan well. I mean, I don't want to give the impression that planning is inherently bad, because actually I think it's really important to plan well. But I think what I'm pointing out is that we need to see our plans as plans, and not as reality unfolding, if you see what I mean. And I think what's interesting is that we can think about the path of the Dharma like that. We can think that we've got it all kind of sorted out in our mind, that we know what is going to happen. We hear about the Dharma, and if it's communicated clearly, we have quite a sense of how the path is laid out, and how when we become more aware, certain things take place. When we become more emotionally positive, certain things take place. When we start reflecting on change, insight will arise. And it's if we kind of get a sense that we know exactly what that line of progression will be, as if we know where we're going. Quite often it's shown that it's not quite like that. That the Dharma that we're involved on, that we're entering into, reveals itself in a way that we're not expecting. So I just wanted to read a little excerpt from a poem, which it's a poem by Sangharakshita, and he kind of evokes the sense that we can have of the Dharma as all being kind of nice and neat and tidy. So this is what he says. Reading some. Oh, by the way, this poem's got the word macadamized in it, which is, it's like tar macadam. I had to sort of look that up. It didn't come to me. I thought of macadamia nuts when I heard the word, but it's tar macadam is what you put on a road. Anyway, just in case you're wondering what macadamized means. So reading some books, you'd think the Buddha way, as though macadamized, ran smooth and white, straight as an arrow, billboards left and right, and that the yellow buses thrice a day whirled past the milestones, whose smug faces say, Nirvana 15 miles. By 10 tonight, you'll all be there, good people, and alight outside the Peace Hotel where you're to stay. So we can have a kind of an idea like that it's all kind of nice and neat and tidy. But what can happen is we start noticing that there's a dissonance between the way that we're thinking about life, the way that we're thinking even about our Dharma life, and what's actually happening. And rather than seeing this as a problem, I think it's a real opportunity. So I think this is what Padmasambhava is talking about when he talks about taking whatever arises as the path, to notice that dissonance between the way we're thinking about what's happening and what's actually happening, if you get me. And we can notice that when we have a strong thought, which is accompanied by a strong emotion of this shouldn't be happening. Yeah. So like sometimes it might even be as strong as this is not happening. Yeah, you have something's going on in your life, whether internally or externally, and it almost denying that it's happening. You're pretending that it's to yourself that it's not happening. Um, and another indication that you might be in this kind of space is where you start thinking, well, if things would just conform to the way I want them to be, if my Dharma life was the way I wanted it to be, then everything would be fine. I'd be in really positive mental states. But it's just that the things aren't happening the way I want them. So people aren't doing what I want them to do, and therefore I can't be in a positive mental state. So in other words, you put the responsibility for your mental state on circumstance. So again, that could be an indication that there's this dissonance between the way that we're thinking and what's actually happening. So I think this is what I'd encourage you to do on the retreat, is just notice when the way that your experience is unfolding, or maybe the way that the retreat's unfolding, or the way that your day is unfolding, isn't conforming to the way that you would like it to, according to what you think it should be. Just notice that and get curious about it, because it's a real opportunity to see delusions, to see your own, just delusion, just that you're seeing things in a slightly skewed way. So that's quite a challenging thing to do. I'll admit that. As I'm talking, I'm sort of thinking, blimey, if I could do that, that would be great. So part of what we're doing is we're even invoking Padmasambhava to sort of be present with us as we undertake that process, because we need some sense of there's more going on than just our immediate experience unfolding. That there's a deeper path unfolding. We'll hear about this more over the course of the weekend. That's part of what Padmasambhava represents. Very significantly, his name means born from a lotus. And in Buddhism, lotuses are a symbol that mean a lot of things. One of the things that they symbolize, and this goes right back to the Buddha's vision of humanity like a bed of lotuses in different stages of unfoldment, is potential. So lotuses represent potential. So Padmasambhava, the lotus-born guru, represents that potential that we all have, that seed that we all have to wake up. So remembering that can give us a kind of confidence to actually go more deeply into our experiences as it's unfolding, even if it's uncomfortable. Of course, what arises might be something completely unexpectedly wonderful. I've talked about it in terms of challenge, but sometimes actually delight or faith or inspiration can arise, and because it doesn't conform with the way that we're thinking, we don't realize that it's happening. We almost push it away. So I think taking whatever arises as the path also includes being open to inspirations, the fact that inspirations can and will emerge that we don't know anything about yet. So I think it's particularly important to remember that when you're going into a retreat, because none of us know what this retreat is going to hold. We just don't know. We've probably got some idea. We might know what we're going to be doing at 4 o'clock tomorrow, but the actual experience of that has never happened before. None of us have had that experience. None of us have had the experience of meditating at 4 o'clock on Saturday, the 23rd of October 2021. That is an experience that's going to be completely new for all of us. So we need to be open to the delight that might emerge and the faith, the inspiration. that might emerge over the course of the weekend. So Padmavajra, he sits, I say Padmavajra because that's one of the other names of Padmasambhava. And he's got a number of different names, and Padmavajra is one of them. And he holds a Vajra in his right hand. Padmavajra holds, Padmasambhava holds a Vajra in his right hand. And a Vajra is a symbol for reality. It's a symbol for things as they really are. And he holds that in his hand. So it's things as they really are, shorn of any delusive thinking about them. There's just, in a way, the, as it were, naked reality of things. So that's part of the reason why we're evoking him, because he communicates to us the value and the importance of all the time opening up to the reality of what's happening, being sensitive to that. And I think this is, again, one of the other really potent aspects of Padmasambhava's symbolism, his appearance, the way he appears to us. He can look a bit ferocious and even a bit forbidding, but that red lotus that he sits on is expressive of the love of Amitabha, the love of the Buddha of infinite light, who's like Padmasambhava's spiritual father, so to speak. So it's very, very important that we, whenever we're opening up to life, whether it's unfolding outer or inner, outside of us or inside of us, that there's a sensitivity there, that there's a love there. And if that's there, if there's a sense of our potential, a sense of confidence in the three jewels, and a sense of sensitivity, then we don't have to worry about anything. Nothing can go wrong if we're open to those things, because we're on solid ground. So that's just a wee bit, just to kind of orientate ourselves into the retreat. Hopefully that's helpful. It's one of the challenging things about doing retreats on Zoom is that you don't get an awful lot of a sense of how people are hearing what you're saying. It's slightly weird, but I'm sure Pavra will tell me later whether it made any sense. So I just wanted to say a little bit about being on retreat. And part of what being on retreat is about is just developing the perspective and the presence of mind to allow this deeper relationship with what's really going on to emerge and develop and grow. So in terms of presence of mind, we're going to be meditating, we're going to be developing awareness, we're going to be developing kindness and sensitivity, we're going to be opening up to other people, we're going to be communicating with other people, and that in itself conduces to this sort of sensitivity to our own experience as it unfolds. We're going to be reducing the amount of stuff that's streaming into our senses just to simplify and clarify our experience. And we're going to be hearing Dharma teachings. So it might just be really helpful just to keep that phrase in mind, take whatever arises as the path. It's amazing how it can transform. I had a really weird week last week, which I might talk about tomorrow, but things just kept happening that weren't on the agenda. And having that phrase in my mind just helped me to respond. I didn't respond entirely creatively, but I responded hopefully more creative than I would have if I hadn't been thinking, oh, this is what the path is right now. It's not somewhere else. It's right here. So you might like to just bear that phrase in mind. Take whatever arises as the path. And also, if you know the mantra of Padmasambhava, you could just bear that in mind. Om Ma Hum Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Hum. We'll be chanting that over the course of the weekend. And a mantra is said to be something that protects the mind. And if the mantra is there in your mind, again, you're connected with your deepest potential. You're connected with the love of Padmasambhava, or the love of Amitabha. You're in direct connection with that when the mantra is present in your heart. So just a few words about being on retreat. It's a slightly different retreat. Maybe this might be the only way of being on retreat that you know, but for many of us, we would have been on retreats in person before. And even the very name retreat, even the very word retreat, suggests moving location. So usually what we do is we go to a different place. We usually go to a place in the country. Online, it's not like that. And what we need to do is we need to create a different kind of space to be in the usual space that we live in. So that's something I think it's quite important to be conscious about and be deliberate about, of actually making deliberate decisions about how you're going to transform the space that you inhabit. So one way of doing that is by building a shrine. Yeah, you might like to have an image of the Buddha or of Guru Padmasambhava if you have an image of him, and beautify that place or that image so that it's a place you want to be, and it's a place that reminds you of what you aspire to be. And again, you might like to make offerings, a candle and incense and flowers, and just have your meditation gear, what you sit on, just kind of ready to go, so you can just come in and you can slot into your meditation. Another really important thing to do is, and this is about other people, is just letting other people know what you're going to be up to for the weekend, so that people know that you're on retreat and you're less likely to be interrupted. So it might be worth, for example, putting a note on your email so that if people email you, it's probably not so much for a weekend, but you might like to do that if you're expecting an email, and just to let your household know that you're planned so they can give you the space that you need to be on retreat. So it might involve just chatting to people a little bit. It's a good idea. We're going to be on the screen for a bit, during the course of the day, like we are now. We're looking at each other on the screen, and I think it's really good when between the sessions is to try and get away from screens. You might like to go for a walk, or just have a cup of tea, or maybe go for a walk with a friend on the retreat, and just to reduce input. Yeah, so make sure that you have your that you just don't look at your email if you can. Like, it makes a huge difference if you turn your phone off or just turn it onto airplane mode. Those messages that come in bring you out of being here and now. They take you off and into the future. So one question to ask yourself is, when you're looking at something, written text, is just to ask yourself, do I really need this piece of information now? Can it wait until Monday or even Tuesday? Do I really need to look at this? And one way that you can make it easier, because when I go into my computer, my emails are just there. So try and make it so that you just don't see them, so you're not tempted. So one thing I've often done on these online retreats is copied the link, the Zoom link, into a Word document and just kind of had it on my desktop. So I don't even need to go into the my web browser to get into the Zoom. I can just click on the link. But whatever, and maybe like you can just write out the program and stick it to the fridge or something, so you don't have to keep going to the website. But just doing things like that to keep you away from things that are likely to take you away from the retreat. So you will need to do practical things, but I think it's quite good to make a clear decision about what practical things you're going to do. So you might need to go to the shops to buy a bit of food. But just if you make a clear decision about that, then you're less likely to just kind of drift off into the shop next door to the shop, and then that you pretty easily you can find yourself somewhere where you don't particularly want to be. So yeah, it's not perfect, but actually it's amazing how you can change your inner world and your outer world, actually, just by making a few deliberate choices about the way that you're going to live in the next few days. Now, ordinarily, what we would say on a retreat at the beginning is just to just keep in touch. Like, if you're having a hard time in the retreat, just to talk to somebody. Those of us there's a team of order members running the retreat. So do get in touch if you want to chat to somebody in between the sessions. We're all available. You can just email manager@dbc, or if you've got my email, you could email me either. So it's manager@dublinbuddhistcentre.org, and or you can private message the person who's going to be the order member who's going to be leading the breakout rooms that we'll have each day. So I just want to make that explicit. Do get in touch if you need to talk to somebody, and we can arrange to talk to you. And then, so just about the program. So we're going to start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and Pavra will lead a meditation tomorrow morning. And then at 11 o'clock, I'm going to give a talk, after which we'll have breakout groups just to discuss anything that you want to, any points that you want to pick up from what I say. And then 4 o'clock. Oh, by the way, if you are on the team, there'll be a team meeting at 3:30. Just to note that. At 4 p.m. there'll be another session of meditation with Maitrikaya, and then we're going to have some storytelling in the evening. So tomorrow night we're going to have Sadai Sihi, and then meditation and puja after that with Jayasagara. So the main times you need to remember for the retreat is 7 a.m., 11 a.m., 4 p.m., and 7:30 p.m. They'll be the kind of 4 kind of sessions during the day. And we'll finish about 12:45 on Monday, just in case you're wondering. And just something that often comes up on the bank holiday retreat, and that's the clock changing. So that actually doesn't happen this weekend at all. It happens next weekend, unusually. So you don't need to worry about clocks changing this weekend at all. So that's nice. And the Zoom link will be the same for each session. Yeah, so you can just every session will be the same Zoom link, and it's quite a good idea. In the same way that, if you were up on retreat somewhere, you might just get to the shrine room a little bit early, get your sort of mat organized and your cushions organized, and make an offering or something. So you might like to do that with Zoom. Just arrive a few minutes early, just so you're not, because it can be a bit pernickety Zoom at times, just so that you can be there and relax. And so I just got one more thing to say, and then we'll go into breakout rooms. And I just wanted to, I suppose, remind you really that the DBC is operating at the moment on a completely on a generosity basis. So we're basically just metaphorically opening our doors and making what we're doing available to anybody who wants to participate in it, without making a charge for that. So we're just giving out what we're doing for free, so to speak. And we're asking people to support us to do that by making a donation. So I know loads of you are giving monthly standing orders, and that's, particularly at the moment, really profoundly, deeply appreciated. And there's also, if you want, and we really do need it in a way, to make a donation for the retreat. So what we're asking is that if you could give €125, that would be wonderful. That's kind of a suggested donation, but you're really literally free to give whatever you're happy to give. That could be more than that, it could be less than that, it might be nothing at all for the moment, and that's absolutely fine. So please don't feel that you have to give money to be on the retreat. Just give whatever you're happy to give, whatever is comfortable for you to give. I just wanted to say that. So yeah, so what we want to do is we just want to make the Dharma available to people to practice, and have no kind of limit on that. And we're asking for people to help us to do that. That's basically the kind of the gist of it. So yeah, I just want to mention that at this point. So yeah, what we'll do now is we'll have a chance to report in, just for a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, and it might be an opportunity just to make conscious anything that you want to bring into the retreat, or anything you want to do to make your weekend a retreat. Yeah, and this is just going to be random group. We'll have different people in the groups for the next 3 days. So it'll just be, Sadai is just going to open random breakout rooms.